Thank you, Caroline, and thank you to everyone for coming along today. My name's Dr. Marion Redenbach, and I'm a doctor. I usually work at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, but I'm here today representing Doctors for the Environment Australia to express our concerns about this coal mine expansion so close to Anglesea and so close as well to the primary school. We lend our support to your demand that the government undertakes an environmental impact statement and also a comprehensive study of the potential health impacts of this coal mine and coal mine expansion right in the heart of your community. I think there's a particularly stark contrast here between the benefits of being exposed to the natural beauty of this coastline, which is almost pristine, and the health impacts associated with a coal mine. As people who've been living beside a coal mine for years, you've probably already got some of your own thoughts about the health impacts of coal, and I'm sure you've come to the conclusion that coal and health is not a good news story. Unfortunately, as the people of Anglesea discovered last year with the High Cal 40 issue, even a company which supports the local community through development and through jobs does not necessarily always have at their core the concern for the health and the well-being of residents. So that's where it's essential that the government and the Environmental Protection Agency, as well as other health organisations, step in to ensure that the community is protected. It's interesting that at a time when the Baillieu government is looking at opposing development of wind turbines within 2 kilometres of dwellings, this coal mine is going to go ahead at some points only 800 metres from a primary school. I'd like to talk a bit about the specific health impacts of coal. In Victoria we have a form of coal that's known as lignite or brown coal. It's got a higher moisture content but also a higher content of other contaminants compared to the other 3 forms of coal. And through every step in the life cycle of coal, from when it's dug up, when it's transported, when it's washed, when it's burnt, and then the disposal of post-combustion waste, toxic compounds are released into our environment. For example, coal is the single greatest source of mercury release in Victoria. Mercury is a heavy metal, it accumulates in the food chain, and as humans are at the top of the food chain, it accumulates particularly in our bodies. Now, one of the problems with mercury is that exposure to mercury in children before they're born results in damage to the developing brain of the fetus. And studies in the US in areas that are similarly exposed to coal found that 1 in 6 women of childbearing age actually had concentrations of mercury that were thought that were above the Environmental Protection Agency limit. In terms of other impacts, another important area is the release of particulate matter, and fine particulate matter has been found not only as a result of coal combustion but also as a result of coal mining and transport all around the world. And these tiny particles are too small for the human eye to see, but they're inhaled into the lungs where they cause inflammation and damage. They're absorbed into the bloodstream and are known to affect systems including the cardiovascular system, the heart, the lungs and the brain. And as well as possibly contributing to the development of asthma, these particles are known to trigger asthma attacks. They're worse than chronic lung disease. They've been associated with higher rates of heart attacks, higher rates of other ischemic heart disease including angina, with strokes, and with higher rates of death both from lung cancer and from all causes of mortality. So these compounds are very serious and significant in terms of their health impacts, and as more and more information becomes available, it's clear that there's no safe level of exposure to fine particulate matter. As well as the direct health impacts, one of the key concerns of Doctors for the Environment Australia is the contribution of burning coal to global warming. Seaside communities will face a disproportionate effect as the sea levels begin to rise, and more broadly the World Health Organization and other key clinical journals around the world, including the British Medical Journal, have identified that climate change is the biggest threat to human health of the 21st century. So increasingly doctors of all specialties are feeling the need to speak out about the seriousness and urgency of the threat that climate change poses to human health. I'll just mention that Anglesea is not alone in facing the threat of coal mine expansions. All across Australia, in places of both a pristine beauty but also key tourism and agricultural sites, from Western Australia through the Darling Downs in Queensland and the pastoral land in the Latrobe Valley, communities are faced with the expansion of the coal and the coal seam gas industry. And like Anglesea, many of these areas are not going to accept the dangers to their health, their community fabric, the key industries and the long-term economic viability of their areas, and are becoming organised so they can be effective advocates not just for themselves but particularly for their children and for their communities. So Doctors for the Environment Australia commends your meeting today. We look forward to working with you to look at what the health impacts are for the people of Anglesea and to oppose the expansion of this coal mine in the heart of your community. We'd like to see the government undertaking an environmental impact statement but also a health impact statement to make sure that the concerns of the people of Anglesea are adequately addressed in relation to this coal mine expansion. Thank you.